What is up, everyone? Welcome back, and today we have a special unveiling for you guys. Say hello to the Bitaxe Turbo Touch, the world's most powerful touchscreen Bitcoin miner, powered by the Bitaxe 801 GT. That's right, the Gamma Turbo, the big behemoth with the big heat sink. As you can see inside, there it is. I'll show you guys why this unit is so special, and we want to get into the performance. I'll show you guys some of the components that make up the device and why this unit is so cool. We are going to be giving this unit away. I know you guys love giveaways, so stay tuned. We'll tell you exactly how to enter, and I don't think you're going to want to miss this because this unit is beautiful. Let's get into it. Before we dive straight into this video, I want to let you guys know that this video is probably going to be a little long, so please bear with me. There is a lot to cover about the Bitaxe Turbo Touch, but let's get into some of the key features. Now, the Bitaxe Turbo Touch is going to have a default hash rate of about 2.15 terahashes per second. Keep in mind, it is the same default hash rate as the Bitaxe Gamma Turbo because it is a Bitaxe Gamma Turbo inside of a touchscreen enclosure. The amazing thing about the Bitaxe Turbo Touch is that it's going to have 3 built-in performance modes: low, medium, and high. Low is going to come around 2.15 terahashes per second. Medium is going to be about 2.4 terahashes per second. And high is going to be 2.67 terahashes per second. And your high setting is going to have about 48 watts. Now, the awesome thing about the Bitaxe Turbo Touch is that you are able to access the back end of this device from AxeOS still. So while the user interface and the touch screen is absolutely amazing, everyone that was involved with this project thought that it was a great idea to still allow people inside of AxeOS to tune and control the device, because that is what open source is about. Now, this machine is going to be running dual BM1370 chips from the Bitmain Antminer S21 Pro. This is essentially what your board looks like. This is the developer version, the 800, but as you can see, some final iterations were done to clean the board up just a little bit. This is just an example to give you an idea of how many ASIC chips are actually on the board. Well, the Bitaxe Turbo Touch is going to have a 4.3-inch 800 by 480 capacitive touchscreen, and it's going to have 8 different dynamic touchscreens. And you'll see whenever I power this unit up exactly what that is going to look like. The efficiency is about 16 to 17 joules per terahash because it is 12 volts, so it runs slightly less efficient. But we are talking about fractions of efficiency here. We are still within 40 watts, the power of a high-powered LED light bulb at best. You're still within $5 a month just running a little solo miner on your desk. Now, the beautiful thing about the Bitaxe Turbo Touch is that it is only 35 decibels. So if you like how quiet the Bitaxe 801 GT is, you are going to love how quiet the Turbo Touch is. This unit was really designed to sit on your desk and just be pretty. You can tinker around with this, but this is something you probably just want to power on and sit on your desk. Also, just want to add, there are 4 rubber feet underneath it, and while you can fade this sort of upgrade, this is awesome because it really does keep the device from not moving around, as you can see. So kind of keeps it in place, which is really cool. Now we have the dual side honeycomb vents for pass-through cooling. Your air is going to come through this side. It is going to be exported out of this side through that beast of a heat sink. This is the next most important thing. Honestly, to me, this is the most important thing, is that not only is the firmware on the miner open source, but the firmware on the touchscreen is fully open source. And what that means is you can program your own user interface and make your own user experience however you want it to be. And I really want to cover this on a future video, but for you guys out there that are excellent at hacking or using codecs or AI to figure things out, you are going to love this device because you can change the background, the colors, the different touch panels at the bottom to say or do whatever you want. This, being that this user interface is totally open source, the software is totally open source, you can make this your project. You can do whatever you want to this device. It's really awesome. I've been experimenting with it, and I can tell you one thing, it is a game changer. We still have that 12 volt DC power via XT130, just like the Gamma, or the Gamma GT rather. And it is Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz. It's got the ESP32-S3. It is literally the Bitaxe Gamma Turbo. I am not going to keep saying that, but essentially it has that ESP32 chip, and it actually communicates through the screen, or to the screen, through this BAP port, or the BAP. So you can see here they have this little clasp, and there is a little ribbon cable that goes into there, and it goes into the back of the screen to the BAP port here, which also has its own ESP32 controller, which allows the screen to also be programmable and be able to connect to the internet as well, while keeping your miner running standalone and not having to communicate or be connected to a server, which is important from a security standpoint. So this is a well thought out design. The touchscreen is absolutely beautiful, and I think it's about time to power this thing on. Of course, as always, 100% assembled in the USA. From the enclosure, the enclosure is a high temperature fiberglass printed enclosure, so you don't have to worry about fire hazards. The board is fully assembled in the USA as well, as always, and that's what we do. We want to keep production in the United States. It allows us to scale, bring down prices, build up supply chains, build relationships with vendors, and be in control of what we produce. We are not subject to any sanctions, rules, regulations, any trade with foreign countries. We do all of this in the United States of America, and that's why you love us. So let's plug this in and let's get on to the next thing. All right, we are all set up, and let's run through some of the things you're going to see on the Bitaxe Turbo Touch's display once you have it fully set up. Of course, here we have the actual hash rate of the device, which is about 2.18 terahashes per second. And I believe right now this is actually on the lowest setting. We'll see. Here we have this little lightning bolt, which signifies your power draw or your power usage, which is about 38.76 watts. We have a little star here that displays your best difficulty, which, as you can see, we've only hit 102.14 million, but that's all right. And we have a little temperature gauge here, which is telling us the temperature of our ASIC chips, which is 60 degrees Celsius. And that's because we have a setting that's going to keep our temperature at 60 degrees. Here we have a fan RPM logo with the actual RPM, which is about 2400 RPMs, revolutions per minute. And then we have a check right here for our submitted or accepted shares. And we have a little minus sign right here for our rejected shares. Here we have a hardware button, which basically tells you just basically in plain text, what kind of hardware you're running and what kind of ASIC chip you have. As you can see, it is the Gamma Turbo model. And as you know, the Gamma Turbo has the BM1370 chips. And if you click your pool information here, we actually have a little pop-up that has a QR code, as well as it tells you what pool you're in, the port number, and your user. So this is for quick accessibility into AxeOS to change your pool settings and your default Bitcoin wallet address. Always remember that these devices come with a default Bitcoin wallet address, and one of the first things you want to do is make sure that you have your Bitcoin wallet address in it, because if you don't change it and it was to hit a block, you would not get the full reward. And that's not done for malicious purposes. It's done so when you set the device up, it is already mining and you can confirm that for yourself. It's just a part of the default programming process in which manufacturers use to verify that the machines are hashing before they leave the manufacturing facility. Now, if we go to this next screen right here, we have the current block height. This is cool because a lot of people like the block clocks. Block clocks are oftentimes a few $100. They kind of just have that one functionality of telling you what the current block height is. And with the Bitaxe Turbo Touch, you have so many different screens, usability, functionality, all inside of a device that is actually mining. So we believe these different things, or different visuals, different screens rather, provide you more value. So if we go ahead and touch this next icon, this is probably one of the coolest things. I love to personally keep this screen up. That way I know what's happening on the mempool. So every 10 minutes on the Bitcoin network, roughly 10 minutes, sometimes it can go up to an hour. It just kind of depends on the frequency in which blocks are found. But on an average of every 10 minutes, a new block is found on the Bitcoin network. And here, it allows you to see all of that, and you can scroll back to about the past 8 blocks. So you have roughly 80 minutes here of data, and you can see what pools are mining these blocks. And that's cool because Foundry sometimes mines 8 or 9 blocks back to back. And this also gives you a visualization of how centralized, Bitcoin mining can be at certain times. It actually tells you the fees, how many transactions are in each block, and how much Bitcoin was passed through in terms of fees. So this is a really cool screen. If you were, in fact, to solo mine a block, it would come up right here as soon as it happened. So this is a really cool functionality. This is something that not any other device on the market currently has that has a screen on it. And it's just something that's super cool. So let's move on to the next screen, which is basically a clock. AM, PM, digital format. Honestly, I find that when I keep my Bitaxe Touch on this screen, it keeps me more productive. I am more aware of the time. I am constantly looking at the time. As a productive person, I am always racing the clock. And if you use a computer nowadays, your time is really small in the corner, and I don't look over at that very much. But this has a 12-hour AM and PM programmable clock, which is awesome because you can actually go to the settings, which we're getting ready to do, and you can look at all of your different time zones. You can set this to any global time zone. If we go to this screen here, This is honestly my most favorite screen. Some days it is not my favorite because the Bitcoin price has just kind of been tripping lately, but that's all right. Here, obviously, we have a Bitcoin price ticker. You can keep the Bitcoin price on your desk 24/7. It runs from the mempool API, so it pulls that data from mempool. It always is going to stay up to date. I believe it's refreshing about every 60 seconds to comply with mempool's free tier of API usage. So if you pull the price too frequently, you're going to hit mempool servers too frequently, and they can ban your IP address. So this is actually programmed to pull every 60 seconds, and you'll see it refreshing here, and then it updates. So something super cool. There's a lot of products on the market that keep a price ticker on your desk, or just a block clock, or maybe it's just a miner. But the Bitaxe Turbo Touch has all of this functionality all within it and inside of one mining device. And this is something not a lot of other products do. It is really in a class of its own. Now here I have this set up on just a temporary network, but you can see that once your Bitaxe Touch is fully connected to the internet, you're going to have an IP address right here. If you are on a mobile device, a tablet, laptop, computer, desktop, etc., you can put this IP address into your device as long as it's on the same Wi-Fi network, and you can access AxeOS just like you can with any Bitaxe device. And if you're new here, we're going to do a crash course on AxeOS on this sort of next segment after this segment, and you'll be able to see exactly what's going on in AxeOS. Now here, when you click scan for networks, this section here is going to bring up all of the available Wi-Fi networks that are near you. You'll select this drop down, you'll select all of your applicable Wi-Fi network, and you'll put your password in here. So it is just a touchscreen keyboard, and then after you do that, you'll hit the check mark right here. You'll hit connect, and once it's connected, you will see the status of your connection right here. So it'll say connected or disconnected, and you actually have the signal of your Wi-Fi network. So you can see if it's weak or if it's strong right there by your signal. So super easy to set up. When you set this Bitaxe Turbo Touch up out of the box, it will automatically default to this screen. That way you can get it connected to Wi-Fi. If you connect this out of the box and you start trying to navigate to each one of these tabs, you aren't going to see any information because it's not connected to Wi-Fi. So keep in mind, the miner has to be connected to Wi-Fi to operate, and the screen, because it has this separate ESP32 module right here, it also needs to be connected to the internet so it can display all these prices. It's important to note that your miner is not connected to any servers pulling any information, but rather it is your actual screen connected to those servers, which are pulling prices and other data for your viewing pleasure. So if we go right here to settings, this is where you can see your 3 easy programmable settings. We have low mode, medium mode, we have high mode, we have automatic fan control. If for whatever reason your miner is bothering you, your miner's fan is constantly going up and down, you can uncheck fan control here, and you can manually move this up and down to how fast you want the fan to go. But for now, we will leave this checked, and you can save your fan settings. You also have screen brightness here. We can turn this all the way up to 100, but we will go back down to where we were. I'm using this little pointer right here for video purposes, and it doesn't like the little pointer too much. So here we have the time zone. You can pick your time zone, worldwide time zones, to stay up to date with the best time for your area. And then here we can go ahead and check for updates, which is awesome because you don't have to flash the screen. This update button right here is only going to check for screen updates. It is not going to update your miner's firmware. Keep in mind that there are two firmware layers to this device. One firmware layer is going to be your screen, and the other firmware layer is going to be your miner. And these two are going to talk to each other through this ribbon that I showed you guys earlier. And that's going to communicate through the BAT protocol, or the BAP, which was developed by Clue. He is the lead maintainer and developer of AxeOS. Great guy. He's done absolutely fantastic work, and AxeOS has come a long way, hasn't it? If we go to this last screen, you can see that we were actually on low. However, the screen was saying medium, and that's because I went into the back end of AxeOS and I did some tuning. But when I selected medium just now, it actually went up to the medium level. So what I told you guys in the beginning was true. Low is about 2.1 terahashes per second. You can see once I accidentally clicked the medium icon, it shot up. And this is your live hash rate performance mode if you care to just sort of watch this. That's the user interface. It's fairly simple. This is version 1. I will say that I've been playing around with this device and its capabilities being open source, and I have been able to program this thing to tell me the weather, give me a 3-day forecast, change the background, change the color of all these icons. Man, this unit is sick, and I'm not just saying that because we sell it. There is a whole story behind the Bitaxe Touch and why we decided to roll this out, to get the help for the development work, and we wanted to give you guys something that was fully open source. That way you guys can really see the power of something that's fully open source. Now I want to get into AxeOS, and I want to show you guys what's going on in AxeOS for people that are new around here. If you are experienced in AxeOS, you may want to skip this next section, but it looks the same as every other Bitaxe. So short spoiler there, let's get into it. For those of you that have never seen AxeOS, here it is. So using that IP address on the Wi-Fi settings portion of the screen, typing that into a mobile device or a computer that is on your desktop, as long as it's on the same Wi-Fi address or Wi-Fi network rather, you can get into the back end of your miner. This is something that was very important for everyone involved in this project from the beginning, because this is the true freedom of open source. The ability to go into a device, see what it is doing, and actually control it. Because with open source, you actually own it. You are not being limited to what it's capable of. You own it, you control it. So here's AxeOS. Again, it's going to give you a bunch of the information you are already seeing on the touchscreen because it's communicating over that cable. So you can see here that we're expecting 2.448 terahashes per second. We have no errors, so we have an amazing connection to the mining pool. And here's what we're averaging. Here's a 1 minute, 10 minute, and a 1 hour average. And here's our efficiency. Efficiency is going to bounce between 17 to 18 joules per terahash. And this is through the UI. So it's likely a little bit higher at the wall. It may be closer to 19. That's because you have a screen, you have a fan, you have the load that the ASICs are pulling. You have a lot of different things going on with the Bitaxe Touch. But again, you're only looking at a few bucks a month to run this small solo miner. And honestly, if it was up to me, I would run this thing at work because it just looks beautiful and you're not paying for the power anyway. So you didn't hear that from me. So we submitted 55 shares. We are still at that high difficulty or best difficulty of 102 million. And here we have our hash rate graph. So this is, it just got really happy and spiked up. But this is pretty much a live display of what you're seeing on the live hash rate graph as well. And here's some more goodies as far as some more performance metrics. Here we have the power. So at medium mode, we're pulling about 45.1 watts. And our input voltage is 12.3 volts. This Bitaxe Turbo Touch is going to come with a 12.4 volt power supply. So we are getting very, very good voltage. And the power supply has a lot of room for overclocking, and so does the actual Bitaxe Touch. This thing can get over 3 terahashes per second if you didn't know. But you'll get that through overclocking through this section here, not through the main UI. So it caters to a balance of people that are new and just want something plug and play. And it also caters to the crowd who wants to get into AxeOS and who wants to play around with settings. You can see here our ASIC frequency is around 600 megahertz, and our measured voltage is about 1.2 volts or 1200 when you look at it through the tuning screen. Our heat section here covers both of our ASIC chips and our voltage regulator. You can see that our ASIC chips are very close to each other in thermals, and this is because our settings are keeping them around 60 degrees Celsius. If we wanted to keep them higher, we can go into settings, tune it. We can say we want our ASIC temperatures to maybe stay at 70 degrees C. The fan would back off and these temperatures would gradually climb to 70 C, and that fan would actually run lower because it is going to allow those thermals to run higher, and then it'll keep it at 70 C. So that's a lot of the work that goes into the firmware side of things. Our voltage regulator temperature is super chill around 54 degrees Celsius. You can see our fan speed right now is at 98.9%. So she's whirling. You can see here that our pool settings, we are in public pool. We are still using the default Bitcoin address just for demonstration purposes. There's no fee. This is something that's new. And here's our time to the pool. So here's our ping to the pool. A lot of this stuff is really new. And developers have been working on this information to be displayed to you. That way you can have transparency as to what your miner and what the pool is doing. Developers have caught people, or pool operators rather, that were scamming individuals that are running home mining devices. And it has not been a pretty thing, because not only were they stealing people's hash rate, but they were also telling people that they were mining Bitcoin when in fact they were mining Bitcoin Cash, and they were stealing the reward once someone would find a block. So that is what actually brought this entire next section up here that shows you that you are in fact connected to a legit pool and that your address is included in the Coinbase payout. And the Coinbase payout is just essentially it's the block reward. So it's the very first transaction from a block. If you are mining to a pool, if you're solo mining and your Bitcoin wallet address is not included in the Coinbase transaction, that means that that mining pool may be doing something funky if it is a solo mining pool. Okay, if you're solo mining, you get the whole block reward if your device hits the block. And if your address, your mining address, or your Bitcoin address rather, is not in the Coinbase to get that reward, then something is a little sketchy with that, right? So a lot of this stuff is just informative and protective measures to make sure that when you connect to a solo mining pool, that you're going to get the payout. As these things become more popular, these things as in solo miners, some people refer to them as lottery miners, or just home miners in general, there are going to be more scams that pop up that are trying to steal your hash rate, steal your Bitcoin, right? That is why it's important to stay with open source stuff. Open source pools, open source hardware, open source firmware. It's transparent and you can see what's going on at all times. If you're buying closed source proprietary things, you don't know what's happening on your network. You don't know what's happening with your Bitcoin, your rewards, your device, anything. You're totally locked out of it. Open source is the way. That is what Solo Satoshi, that is the hill we die on around here. And if you've been following us, you know that. Hash rate registers, basically each ASIC chip has 4 domains. If you add up all these different domains, you will get this overall hash rate. So these domains have been being used for the last, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 updates. Don't quote me, but this is something in the grand scheme of things that's actually fairly new, and developers have found this out just from reverse engineering the chips, playing around with them, and they don't even think this is something that Bitmain themselves actually use. So for those of you that don't know, these ASIC chips that are on these devices, they are not open source. Everything that has been found out to assist developers with getting these miners up and running and functional using these ASIC chips has been reverse engineered. So there's no one giving paperwork away, ASIC chips, silicon. It is some of the most proprietary stuff on planet Earth. There's only a few people in the world who are even allowed to make these or make the machines that make these, right? So super cool stuff. And if we go over here to this hamburger menu, we can look at the logs. The logs is really awesome. This is like a storybook of exactly what your miner's doing. You can see the connection to the pool. You can see your miner talking back and forth to the pool. You can see all of the data that's being submitted between the pool and your miner. You can see the pool issue your miner the work, and you can see your miner basically submitting its work back to the pool. So just, again, open source, open book, your device, your control, full transparency all of the time. And if you ever have an issue here, you can simply hit this pause, scroll through this log, and whoever you end up buying a Bitaxe from or an open source miner from, you can screenshot this log and send it over to them, and they can look through this and further assist you. So it also helps with troubleshooting purposes. Now, if we go over here to system, this is going to be just basic, system devices or system settings and just overall plain text information. So you'll have all of your device model, your uptime, resets, your free memory, what version of firmware that you're on, all of that good stuff. Just more information. You can never have enough information. Your pool configuration here, you're going to get a warning that you're using the default Bitcoin address, which is cool. Everyone involved with this tries to be as transparent as possible that you need to change your Bitcoin address, right? So here for Stratum host, you would put the URL of the pool that you're trying to connect to. So if you want to use public pool, we like public pool because it's no fees, it's open source, it's a solo mining pool. However, there's only one server in the United States. So some people often go with CK Pool, which has multiple servers worldwide. There's also a newer solo mining pool called Atlas Pool, which has several servers worldwide, and it also has different fallback settings. And we covered a lot of stuff on Atlas Pool on a blog post. Stratum Port, For people that don't know, when you go to connect to a pool, you're often going to see a pool URL and a port number. You'll want those two things to be correct for whatever pool you're trying to connect to. And then for your user, you have your Bitcoin wallet address. This is very, very important. If you put the wrong type of Bitcoin wallet address, your miner will not mine. It will not connect to the pool. Therefore, it will not receive work or submit work. It will not mine. Long story short. And then your password here is always X. And we have our fallback pool configuration here, which means that if your primary pool, for whatever reason, if public pool went down, let's just say they had maintenance, or maybe the power went out and there was no generator. Worst case scenario, let's just think about it. Someone tripped over a cord and unplugged the entire server, right? I would fall back to solo CK pool. And the same thing applies here. This is just a safety fallback prevention method. And then let's see, we have network, which basically you can go ahead and program you can name your device, you can have your Wi-Fi SSID here. You can do the same thing sort of with the search functionality, and you can enter your Wi-Fi password here. So when you go to set your Bitaxe Turbo Touch up, it's going to emit a Wi-Fi signal just like any other Bitaxe. So you can either set up your Bitaxe Touch through the front end, like I showed you with the touchscreen keypad, which is probably easy for most people, or you can just do a quick Wi-Fi scan with your phone, find it, it'll bring up this screen here, and then you can put in all your Wi-Fi credentials this way, save it, hit restart, and your miner's connected to Wi-Fi. Easy, very easy. The Bitaxe Touch is literally made for everyone. It's really amazing. Color themes, we have dark mode, light mode, because everyone loves dark mode. And then if I click all of these little icons here and change the theme colors, you can see just different accents changing, different little fun things. We always keep orange because it's Bitcoin. We have settings, and our settings here, you can change your frequency and core voltage, which allows you to manually tune your Bitaxe Touch. And this is how you get to over 3 terahash. And always overclock responsibly, because, sometimes things happen, and take your time. But here, me personally, I've got my Bitaxe Turbo Touch over 3.2 terahashes per second, which is pretty impressive for a device that's supposed to look pretty and just sits there. And the settings for that, in which I achieved that, were 750 on my frequency and 1250 for my core voltage. But you didn't hear that from me. And then automatic fan control is just like what we had on the screen, on the touch screen rather. And here is your target temperature. So here is what you do. You can go up and down on this little scroller right here to target a certain temperature for your ASIC chips. Now, a lot of people have been experimenting around with cooling and different thermal paste and whatnot, and everyone thinks that cooler is better. Contrary to popular belief, cooler isn't always better. So a lot of the small components on the board, your ASIC chips, electronics in general, they like to be around 60 degrees C. So if you ever see these programmable settings around 60 degrees C, that's sort of the method around that. After reading documents and doing research for myself and talking to, the developers behind the project, this is exactly why. 60 degrees Celsius seems to be a happy medium. And then here's your minimum fan speed. If you never want your fan to fall below this threshold, you can just kind of go up and down with this guy. Your display, this is more for, I wouldn't mess with this in terms of the Bitaxe Turbo Touch. This is actually something that is applicable to Bitaxes that aren't with this display. I am not 100% sure if this will mess anything up. I actually haven't thought about this, so excuse this part of the video. I'll have to do some experimenting. But if you're watching, this may control the normal OLED screen that's usually on a Bitaxe. If you see a Bitaxe in normal form that isn't in an enclosure, it has a small LED screen. Those small LED screens can be changed out for larger displays, and that does not affect the BAP or the Bitaxe accessory port, which is connected to the touchscreen. So this may not actually affect anything now that I'm thinking about it. So excuse that. And then we have data logging disabled. We can log data. We can change how many minutes and how many minutes we want the data to be logged. And of course, we have our updates. And this is how you actually update the miner itself. When I do these videos, we mostly get prototypes or things that are very, very close to releases. I cover them because they are very, very close to release, and it is normally what is going to be produced to be sold to you guys. So often our stuff is on dirty firmware. However, here is where you can actually check for the latest and greatest releases for your actual mining hardware. And then once you check that box, you'll get two files. You'll get a www.bin file and an espminer.bin file, which you can update AxeOS, and then you can update your miner firmware. Now, these are two different layers. AxeOS is more of a visual, so sometimes AxeOS has visual changes, or maybe they'll add another little box in there or add another data point. And the firmware is actually what's going to control the miner. So there's two different sort of firmware layers here. You have an OS and a separate firmware that actually controls the device. Now, there's also a Bitaxe web flasher, which you can just simply go to that. You can type that into Google. You'll find the Bitaxe web flasher, and you can flash your device with a USB-C cable, and it will flash both of these images onto your miner at one time. That way you don't have to mess around with this if you don't want too much confusion. But that is AxeOS in all of its glory. And like I said, if you've been around here a time or two, you've most likely run into AxeOS. This was for newer people. But I want to take you guys over to the Bitcoin mining calculator, and let's look at the electricity usage, the profitability, because those are always popular questions. We are on our official website, solosatoshi.com. And if you click this little hamburger menu up here, you will see the Bitcoin mining profitability calculator. Now, we've been having this calculator for a long time, but figured I'd go ahead and introduce it on a video nonetheless. And you can see that we have a solo mining calculator, which calculates your odds of solo mining a block. We have mining pool stats, which if you want to put your miner in a pool for whatever reason, you can see how much you can potentially get paid out per day. We have a power consumption calculator, which is actually going to calculate how much you would need to pay on a month-to-month basis based off of how many watts your device is. We have a Sats to USD calculator. We do a lot of stuff with Bitcoin. We pay vendors in Bitcoin. We pay bills in Bitcoin. We actually use Bitcoin as Solo Satoshi. So this is a very helpful tool for us to convert Satoshis over to USD, USD over to Bitcoin, just to keep that constant conversion because we're dealing with fractions of a Bitcoin, right? And we have electrical calculations, which if you're trying to figure out the wattage of something, the voltage of something, or the amps of something, this calculator kind of performs Ohm's law for you and helps you get a feel over if your electrical infrastructure is ready for the next upgrade you're going to do, which is mostly not a problem in the hobby. So let's go ahead and go over to the solo mining calculator, and let's see what our odds are with this device. So I know on medium mode, our hash rate is about 2.4 terahashes per second. And that's all that we need to do is just put the hash rate. And here's our odds. So 1 in 3 million per day, 1 in 100,000 per month, and 1 in 8,200 chances per year. The estimated time to find a block is a staggering 8,225 years. But if you look at your chance of winning the Powerball, your odds are much, much higher than actually hitting a block. So reason for that is every 10 minutes, remember, every roughly 10 minutes, you have a chance to hit a block. And the Powerball, I think, is once per week, once per month, something like that. I've never bought lottery tickets or been much of a Powerball person. And here we get the network difficulty and the Bitcoin price. And if we just want to navigate left to right here, we have mining pool stats. So here we would put in our hash rate and we would put in our pool fee. I think a lot of pools out there are somewhere around 2%. And you could see your daily Bitcoin payout. You could see that payout in USD terms, and you can see the pool fee. And the power consumption, all we'd have to do is put in the hash rate and our efficiency, which was about 18 joules per terahash, and the cost of your electricity. And you need to watch when you're doing this because the provider of your electricity often adds some fees. So let's just go with, for simple terms, let's just go with 16 cents per kilowatt hour. I think that is roughly around the US median. So we can see here that it's going to pull about 43.2 watts. We know that to be true from the UI. And you can see our daily estimated cost is going to be around 17 cents. And our monthly estimated cost is going to be around 4.98, which I said $5 earlier. So that is pretty good. And I'm not going to show you guys the other two screens just because I wanted to show you guys just a little bit of the calculator and show you how it works. Now I want to move on to the listing and show you, let's talk about price, why we priced it that way, and what we think is more valuable compared to other devices in this, in the class of the Bitaxe Turbo Touch, and why we priced it that way. We are on the official Bitaxe Turbo Touch listing, and I want to go over some really cool things. One that I actually completely forgot to cover up to this point, and that is that the Bitaxe Turbo Touch comes in 3 beautiful colors: black, red, and white. And honestly, I have a very hard time choosing which one is more beautiful to me. And I'm starting to lean more toward red because it's our brand color, and it's just like you don't see anything red anymore, The world is so black and white and gray these days. It's good to see some live color. But I'll tell you, the white is pretty dang nice. And keep in mind also that once different themes start rolling out and these icons start changing colors and these blocks start changing colors, you can also do that stuff yourself. It's going to give these devices a totally different look. And if you're interested in programming on these devices, all that you need is a USB-C cord connected to the screen and a LLM like Codex, maybe running on your terminal, or maybe you're just a really good programmer and you don't need the help of AI. I know that I do. But yeah, you can totally change up how all of this stuff looks. You can change the colors of all these fonts. You can change the font itself. You can change the size of the font, right? But let's get into what you guys really want to see. Here's some additional pictures. This is basically everything that we covered through the initial portion of the video, but here is the price. And most of you may be asking, okay, why $325? That seems steep for the cost per terahash, etc. Well, what we did was we looked at every single device on the market that is like the Bitaxe Touch, or the Bitaxe Turbo Touch rather, and there's nothing even close to the performance of this device at this price range. The closest thing is the original Bitaxe Touch and the Brains BMM 101, which all retail for over $300. And as you know, the Brains BMM 101 does about 1 terahash. It can overclock up to 1.5 terahash, but its efficiency is just 40 joules per terahash. It's really, really not efficient for what it is. And we're still talking about fractions of a watt, we're still talking about very low wattage being efficient or not efficient. But when you're running something at home and you're not guaranteed a payout, there's definitely an attention to efficiency of a device, right? And here we sort of did a comparison about all of this. And you could see that in a hash rate comparison for the actual value for anything else on the market that is even close to the Bitaxe Touch, the value of the Bitaxe Turbo Touch supersedes by more than double anything else. The BMM retails around $299. The BM1370, there was a Bitaxe Touch. There was only one instance of this that I can find on a particular retailer that marks everything up double. I'm not going to say any names. And then the other one, which is always readily available, actually uses previous generation ASIC chips, which is the BM1368, but it retails for $325 as well. So what we did, we made a premium product that has double the hash power, and we price matched the previous generation of Bitaxe Touch, and we gave you guys the Bitaxe Turbo Touch. This is definitely something for a different crowd of people. If you are used to the traditional Bitaxe tinkering, just cheap hardware where you can change out heat sinks and fans and see how hard you can push it, this may or may not be for you. But if you are looking for something that is going to sit on your desk and look beautiful, and you want to be able to tell the time at all times, or if you want to see the block height, if you want to monitor the mempool, or if you just want to see the price and you want to mine Bitcoin, this is for you. It's just something different. It is it's quite an amazing value in our honest opinion. And we're open to feedback in the comments. If you think it's way too expensive, if you think we're just trying to rip people off, or whatever your thoughts are, let's put them in the comments. We're always open to feedback at Solo Satoshi. And if you submit a support ticket, you get a response back the same day, sometimes in 5 minutes, sometimes in a couple hours. But we're interested in hearing what you guys think, because we try to bring different products to the market based off of what people want in their home. And if you guys don't want something, or if you guys think something should change, that's the beauty of open source. We'll just change it and we'll do what the community wants. And it's a community project, and everyone's feedback really matters. So we have a $325 price tag, $325 price tag on the Bitaxe Turbo Touch. You can get it in black, white, or beautiful red. And we have every single power supply for every single region, because we ship worldwide. So we're going to move over to the final segment of this video, and I appreciate you guys watching this far. So let's get it. If you made it toward the end of the video, I would love to say thank you for supporting Solo Satoshi. And now we'll get to the moment you've probably all been waiting for. We know you love giveaways, and you have a chance to win this beautiful Bitaxe Turbo Touch, shipped anywhere in the world for absolutely free. And we only need you to do 3 things. Please like this video, drop us a comment down below. You can say anything. And subscribe to the channel. We need your support. We want to show you the next wave of miners. We want to show you what's coming out next. We want to keep the latest and greatest miners in front of you so you know what to expect, to see where the industry is going. We want to show you all of the cool things that we have coming. And if you want to do an extra step, you can go ahead and turn notifications on to the channel. That way, when we upload another video or we drop a new podcast episode on the Home Mining Podcast, or if we put another video up of a giveaway, you can stay in tune. So do those 3 steps to enter to win this Bitaxe Touch. Now for my little ramble I do at the end of each video. I've already said it, and I'll say it again, that we appreciate your time, the love, support you guys have showed Solo Satoshi over the past 2 years. Yes, we are only 2 years old. Our business is only run by 4 people. Myself, which I am Matt, the founder and CEO of Solo Satoshi. My business partner, Hunter, which used to be a co-worker of mine. He is now the co-founder of Solo Satoshi, has always been. His wife, Kelsey, which helps us with packaging and putting all the cute notes in boxes and just all kinds of other things that me and Hunter fail to see just because we're knuckleheads. And then our buddy Two Sats, or Ryan, which you all know, he runs customer support. So if you get a answer back in about 5 minutes flat on a Sunday, it's because he chose to go the extra mile. Now, we've been building this business up for 2 years, and we've developed some haters throughout the 2 years, and that's okay because they're mostly competitors. And our marketing and our pricing is probably offends some people who are used to just making astronomical margins. But we want to relay a short story to you guys. When Hunter and I first got our first Bitaxes for the very first time, they were over $300, and we found this very unacceptable, and that's $300 for, after the shipping, the taxes, etc. But they were very, very high up there. Hunter and I found a manufacturer who could manufacture Bitaxes, or who was already manufacturing Bitaxes, and we came to market as Solo Satoshi, and we dropped prices overnight. And a lot of people say that we are trying to take credit for Moore's Law, or whatever the excuse may or may not be to save their reputation. But the simple fact of the matter is that we dropped prices of Bitaxes, made them more available. And today, as a result, you see that probably 100,000 people globally mine with a Bitaxe. And it's because Bitaxe hit its first block. You can say there's a lot of different reasons, but the price to something is always the barrier to entry. And throughout our 2 years in business, we're scaling up manufacturing, we're scaling up distribution efforts, we're getting better business relationships, we're getting better relationships within the community, and we are able to build faster, stronger, better, and cheaper. So we've also dropped the prices yet again on our Bitaxe Gamma and our Bitaxe Gamma Duo. You can now get a Gamma for a little over $70. You can now get a Duo for a little over $100. And we are going to keep dropping prices because that is what we do. And we can only do that because of the support that this community has given us. And we will keep dropping prices no matter who we make mad, no matter what people say, no matter what people do. We know that there are a lot of people out there that are scared to lose power. And you have to adapt or die. That's Bitcoin, right? And we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep bringing you guys the latest and greatest at the best deals possible. And we hope to keep getting you guys a support no matter what. So, like, comment, subscribe to win this beautiful Bitaxe Touch. And you never know. It could be you. It could not be you, but you never know unless you enter. So, thank you guys for the support. Stay blessed, and we will see you on the next video.